Hey, what's going on, football fans? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new, consider subscribing and also hit the like button down below. All right, so I've done my coaches rankings for the ACC, the SEC, and the Big 12. Now it's time to transition to the Big 10, where we will wrap up in the Power Conference. So, as I've mentioned in my previous videos, the coaches that I have here, I have them ranked, in this case, 1 through 18. I have them color coded, which basically means the coaches that are in green, those are the coaches that are safe in terms of job security. The coaches that are in yellow, they're not just yet on the hot seat. And then the ones in red, they definitely are on the hot seat, and they at very least need to go to a bowl game if they want to save their jobs. Now, let me just say this first. I had a very, very tough time with this list. And honestly, outside of maybe one coach, there's not really a coach that's on the hot seat in the Big Ten this year. For one thing, we have quite a few new head coaches this year that are first years. We have quite a few second years as well. And so this was a very tough list for me to make. So I'm imagining I'm probably going to ruffle a few feathers with this one. So without further ado, let's get started. So we'll start off with number 1 on my list, and it's Ryan Day at Ohio State. So, yes, I understand Ohio State. They've lost to Michigan for the last 3 years, but, you cannot fire a coach. I know it's frustrating losing to your biggest rival for that long, but you can't fire a coach based on just that, okay? Ryan Day, he's going into his 6th season. His overall record is 56-8. Very good job at Ohio State. Made multiple college football playoff appearances. Big Ten titles. So, I mean, Ryan Day, he's got nothing to worry about, and I still think he's the best coach in the Big Ten. Number 2 is James Franklin at Penn State. So James Franklin, he's going into his 11th season with Penn State. His overall record there is 88-39. He does have a Big Ten title, but the thing is, I know they've had multiple double-digit win seasons, but the thing is, Penn State needs to take that next step. And I know over the past several years, when you're playing in the same division as as Ohio State and Michigan, it just makes things tougher. Well, Jim Harbaugh is gone from Michigan, and the Big Ten is doing away with division starting this year, and there's also the 12-team college football playoffs. So I think that could prove to be an advantage for Penn State. We'll have to see how things turn out. But James Franklin, he's a great coach. I mean, when you saw what he did at Vanderbilt, the way he turned them around, let alone in such a short amount of time, I mean, that's a very good coach in my book. Number 3 on my list is Dan Lanning at Oregon. So Dan Lanning, this is his 3rd season with Oregon, but it's also Oregon's first year in the Big Ten. His overall record is 22-5. So again, Oregon, I'd like to see them take that next step as well. And again, I think the 12-team playoff could play to an advantage to them. But Dan Lanning, he's done a remarkable job at Oregon. I have him at number 3. Number 4 on my list is PJ Fleck at Minnesota. So he's going into his 8th season with Minnesota. His overall record is 50-34. And the thing is, PJ Fleck, he's done a great job of turning Minnesota around. And when he got there, they were not in a good place. And going into his 8th season, he's had 5 bowl appearances and 5 bowl wins. So he's undefeated in bowl games. That's pretty remarkable right there. And so, when you see teams that you normally don't see do all that well, and a coach brings them back to respectability, they rank pretty high on my list. So I have PJ Fleck at number 4. Number 5 is Lincoln Riley at USC. So Lincoln Riley, he's going into his 3rd season at Southern Cal. His record there is 19-8, but last year was very disappointing, and that was with Caleb Williams, who is more than likely going to be the number 1 overall draft pick in the NFL draft. That last year was disappointing, and a lot of that had to do with the defense. Defense cost USC a lot of games. They do have a new defensive coordinator, and it's USC's first year in the Big Ten. So I know the Pac-12 competition wasn't nearly as good as the Big Ten. So we'll wait and see. but I have Lincoln Riley at number 5. Number 6 on my list is Kirk Ferentz at Iowa. So he's going into his 25th year, and multiple Big Ten titles. His overall record is 196 and 119. But the thing is, Iowa, despite their offensive struggles, they still find a way to win games. But times are changing, and the way their offense has played the last few years, it just hasn't been performing, and he basically was forced to get a new offensive coordinator by firing his own son. And I know that had to be tough, but that's just the way it is sometimes. So, but nonetheless, I mean, the job overall that he's done at Iowa is very good, and so I have Kirk Ferentz at number 6. Number 7 on my list is Greg Schiano at Rutgers. So he's going into his 5th season in his second stint at Rutgers, and his record during that stint is 19 and 28. Now, that's pretty underwhelming, but last year they went 7 and 6, including a bowl win. And he's got that team turned around and going in the right direction. And so for a school like Rutgers, I think that's pretty incredible. So I have Greg Schiano at number 7. Number 8 is Mike Locksley at Maryland. And just like with Rutgers, Mike Locksley, he's done a very good job there. His record is 29 and 33, but I think he's a lot better than what his records show. He's going into his 6th season with the Terrapins, and they've gone to 3 straight bowl games, and they've won 3 straight bowl games. And so, but I know Maryland, they're going to lose a lot this year, especially losing Talia Tagovailoa. And so, can they? My question is, can they get back to that level? So number 9 is Jedd Fisch at Washington. So this is his first year at Washington. He comes from Arizona, and Arizona was in a terrible place. I mean, they only won 1 game in his first year, but then last year they went. They had a very good year. His record at Arizona was 16 and 21, but like I said, they were trending upward before he left to go to Washington. He takes over for Kalen DeBoer, who left to go to Alabama. So I think Jedd Fisch has done an incredible job at Arizona, and I'd like to see it translate over to Washington. Number 10 is Jonathan Smith at Michigan State. So he takes over in his first year. He takes over from Mel Tucker. He comes over from Oregon State, his alma mater. And keep in mind, Oregon State is not in a power conference anymore, at least for right now. But his record there was 34 and 35, but he had that team trending upwards for the last couple of years. The Beavers were doing very well, and that's ultimately what led him to getting the job at Michigan State. Number 11 is David Braun at Northwestern. And honestly, I probably should have put David Braun a little higher on this list, but what a job he did last year. This is his second full season. His second season. He spent most of the year last year as an interim when Pat Fitzgerald was fired in the offseason due to, off the field distractions. Let's just leave it at that. But, despite all of that, Northwestern the year prior had only won 1 game in 2022. And yet he brought basically that same team, and they went 8-5 last year. That is very good. And like I said, he probably should have been a little higher on this list. And I'm sure I'm going to catch a lot of flack for that, but what a job he did last year. And I think, of course, he got the permanent role, and I think he's going to get Northwestern turned around and keep going in the right direction. Number 12 is Luke Fickell at Wisconsin. So he's going into his second season with the Badgers. They went 7-6 last year. Luke Fickell, he's a very good coach. Excuse me. Luke Fickell's a good coach. But there's just coaches that are just simply better, and maybe if Wisconsin, if they take a step forward this year, if they win 9 or 10 games, then certainly he'll be higher on the list. But I have Luke Fickell at number 12. Number 13 is Matt Rhule at Nebraska. So Matt Rhule's going into his second season with Nebraska. So he done a very good job at Baylor when he was there. He was there for a few years, only had 1 win in his first year, and then next thing you know, Baylor, they're winning the Big 12. And then, Matt Rule left Baylor to go coach in the NFL with the Panthers, didn't work out there, and that's what led him to getting the job at Nebraska. I like Matt Rule. I think he's a very good coach, and I think he's going to get Nebraska turned around. We'll see how things turn out. Nebraska, they're a program, a once proud program that's been starving for success, and so I think he's going to get it turned around. It's just going to take at least another year or two. So, but until then, I have Matt Rule at number 13. Number 14 is Sherrone Moore at Michigan. So Sherrone Moore, this is his first full season. He was an interim or acting head coach when Jim Harbaugh was suspended last year, and of course we know Michigan won the Big Ten. They've won the Big Ten for the last few years, and then they won the national championship. Jim Harbaugh leaves Michigan to go to the NFL to coach the LA Chargers. And so Sherrone Moore, he's got big shoes to fill. So the question is, can he continue the success that Jim Harbaugh was there? But obviously, a first full year head coach, he's obviously safe. So number 15, I have Brett Bielema at Illinois. I had a tough time with this one. I have Brett Bielema in yellow because last year was his third year at Illinois. This is his fourth season. And after 2022, I kind of figured, where they went to a bowl game, I figured that Illinois would take a step forward and start contending in the Big Ten. That didn't happen. Only one bowl appearance. His overall record there is 18-19. And so, Brent Bielema, he's probably safe, but the Big Ten is a tough conference, and we'll see how things turn out. But it certainly wouldn't hurt if Brett Bielema got Illinois back to a bowl game. And then number 16 is Ryan Walters at Purdue. So he's only in his second season. He took over for Jeff Brom when he left to go to Louisville. They only went 4-8, and so we'll see how things turn out. But obviously, Ryan Walters, he's safe. I don't think he's on the hot seat, but you need to take that next step. And then numbers 17 and 18, I'll try to save a little bit of time here. Number 17, I have Curt Cignetti at Indiana. So this is his first year with Indiana. He comes over from James Madison, where he was very successful there, not only at the FCS level, but when JMU made the move to the Sun Belt Conference, he was very good there as well. So, but he's got a tough uphill climb. Tom Allen did not leave that program in a good state, and so we'll see how things turn out. But based on that, I have Curt Cignetti at 17, and then number 18, I have Deshaun Foster at UCLA. I don't really know a whole lot about the guy, to be honest with you, and this is his first year as a head coach at UCLA, and this is UCLA's first year in the Big Ten. So just based on that, I have Deshaun Foster at 18. All right, so that is my coaches ranking for the Big Ten going into the 2024 season, guys. Let me know down below in the comments section. What is your rankings? Who should be ranked higher? Who should be ranked lower? And who do you think is on the hot seat, guys? Thank you all so much for watching. Catch you next time.